From the beginning of time, the relationship between man and woman has been one of the most powerful forces in human history. It has built empires, started wars, inspired art, and destroyed prophets. But behind all of this, there is a silent battle, one that takes place not between man and woman, but within man himself. The real struggle is not about how women behave. It is about how men respond. And more importantly, it is about whether a man can conquer his own ego. A woman, in her essence, is not the source of man's downfall. She is not a threat by nature. She is not born as a distraction. What makes her a test is not what she is, but what she represents. She becomes a mirror, reflecting the deepest, most hidden parts of a man's inner world. His desire, his pride, his need for control, and his weakness. She becomes the stage on which his ego performs its most dangerous play. The ego is not loud. It does not shout. It whispers. It convinces. It justifies. It rationalizes. The ego tells a man that he deserves her attention, that her beauty is a reward, that her love is his right. The ego turns the woman into a symbol, into a goal, into a prize. And once that happens, the man no longer sees her as a human being with a soul, purpose, and dignity. He sees her as something that must belong to him. This is where most men fall, not because the woman did anything wrong, not because she tempted him intentionally, but because the man never trained himself to recognize the difference between real love and selfish desire. He never learned to separate what is sacred from what is simply attractive. He allowed his mind to chase what his soul could not handle. The ego-driven man confuses attention with affection. He believes possession is proof of power. He thinks getting the woman is winning, but in reality, every time he surrenders to his ego, he loses a piece of his discipline, a piece of his clarity, and eventually a piece of his faith. Because faith is not just about belief. Faith is about control. Faith is about recognizing that not everything you want is meant to be yours, and not everything beautiful is meant to be touched. A woman is a test, not because of her faults, but because of her power. She holds the power to awaken the strongest emotions in a man: desire, admiration, jealousy, longing. But the man who is guided by wisdom will understand this. Her beauty is not a signal to chase her. It is a signal to check himself. Her presence is not a green light for obsession. It is a red flag for reflection. The truth is brutal. Most men fail this test. Most men live their entire lives without ever realizing they were supposed to conquer something other than her heart. They were supposed to conquer their own self. When a man lacks discipline, every woman becomes a distraction. When a man lacks purpose, every relationship becomes an addiction. When a man lacks faith, even love becomes a weapon he uses to destroy others and eventually himself. The world we live in is filled with men who are slaves to their emotions. They worship pleasure. They idolize attraction. They mistake chemistry for compatibility and attention for connection. And then they wonder why they feel empty. They wonder why no relationship lasts. They wonder why their spiritual life is dead, even when they say the right words and perform the right rituals. It is because they never killed the ego, and the ego is the silent destroyer of faith. The ego will never let a man admit that he is weak. It will never let him walk away when walking away is the right thing to do. It will never let him choose silence over argument, patience over impulse, or purpose over pleasure. And as long as the ego lives, faith dies slowly. Not all at once, but in moments, small compromises, quiet sins, hidden intentions. Until one day, the man wakes up with a heart so far from the truth that even light feels heavy and prayer feels meaningless. The man who passes the test understands that the woman in front of him is not just a body or a face. She is a soul on her own journey. She is not meant to complete him, fix him, or validate him. She is a trust. If she is not his wife, she is sacred. If she is his wife, she is a responsibility. And if she is neither, she is a boundary. A wise man does not play with what he does not intend to protect. In the end, it is not about women. It is about the discipline of men. A man who can rule nations but cannot rule his own desire is already defeated. A man who can win debates but cannot win the war within himself is already lost. And a man who can impress others but cannot humble himself before the truth has already sold his soul, even if no one sees it. The true test of woman is not how she dresses, speaks, or walks. It is how a man responds to her presence, and if that response is driven by ego, by lust, by pride, by fantasy, then no matter how religious he looks, how spiritual he sounds, or how successful he appears, he has failed the test, because he did not kill his ego, and so he lost his faith. The man who wins is not the one who gets the woman. The man who wins is the one who keeps his soul, the one who walks away from what is not his, the one who prays for guidance instead of chasing desire, the one who treats women not as temptations, but as fellow travelers on the path to truth, the one who chooses patience over pleasure, purpose over passion, and character over conquest. That is the real victory. That is the real man. And that is the true test. He who didn't kill his ego, lost his faith,